This video is going to be about mounting this RFG, or RVG I guess, that I have actually modified. This is going to go on the Samson rail. You can see here it did have a pair of lugs here that would engage into the Magpul MVG Handguard. I've removed those, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the supplied Magpul hardware through there into one of the, it's got a run of these round holes on the bottom. I'm going to run that through there, and then once I've done that, I'm going to come in here and trim this a little bit more, and I will probably actually take this and trim it and actually cut the bottom section off. Say if this was the leading edge as it sits, as you see the rifle here, I will probably start the cut somewhere around here and have it angle up and go around, and basically I'll end up with what you see there. It'll be just a hand stop to where I can get my support hand on it, but it's not a whole handle in the way. So what I'll start out doing here, I've got my Laser Genetics ND3P on. Go ahead and remove it. And just for anyone that's worried, we are empty. And so what we'll do here on the Laser Genetics, the way this is set up, pressure switch here, which is just temporarily mounted, it runs into there. You've got a master switch, and with the excess cordage I just wrap it around it for now. Still experimenting with it, but it's got a quick disconnect on it, and bring that up, and it will come off of your rail section. And now that that's removed, I'm going to push out the rear pin here. This receiver and upper and lower, they fit pretty tight. I'm going to push both of those out. Tighten her up there, and we'll lift that straight up and off. We're going to set the upper to the side for a minute, and this lower, I'm going to go ahead and clamp it in good, and it's going to stay right there for now. I'll be taking the upper and putting it in a vise block. I'll be right back. And here we go. We've got the upper here, and most of you all know all this, but you never know who's watching, so I always want to go through the basics if I can. Going to pull the bolt out. See, I've got an ambidextrous latch here. Most of your factory setups, you're just going to have access to this right here, to this latch. We're going to pull that out, slide that out. The bolt will come the rest of the way out. Set that to the side, and then your charging latch, you actually can't pull it all the way back. You've got a notch in there that it'll come up out of. And there is the bolt carrier assembled. Now I'm going to go ahead and just pan over here. And I'll step in front of the camera. This is the little block that's set up for holding an AR upper. And you've got a thick part here and a little bit thinner part. Thick part goes where your magazine well would normally go. You want to make sure this thing's in the vise good. And I recommend putting the rear pin in first, just because if you put the front pin in and let go, it can, from the weight of the barrel, it'll topple forward. So now I can let go of it. And sometimes on these, you gotta do just a little tapping because it really fits tight. These pins here, your clips, they're really pretty much just so you don't end up losing the pins while you're not using the gun. Because I've not come across an upper yet that was loose enough that the pins could just fall out. Go ahead and make sure I'm tight. And what we've got to do here, right in here, are a pair of Allen wrench, Allen nuts, screws, whatever. I'm sorry, it's probably about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm tired. So we're going to break our torque on those two. And the beauty of this is that, especially with this cantilever mount here, I'm able to do this, remove the forearm, without having to worry about anything about my zero or anything with my sight. This particular mount is an AR Stoner brand. It's about half of what the other ones on the market are. You've got like Novetzke and you got a few of them. Nikon makes a couple of these. They make one that's similar to this. I don't like it as much as the AR Stoner. It's not as heavy duty. And they typically, if you notice how it clamps here, it clamps on the sides, like clamshell like that on the scope. And that is generally understood to be a stronger and better method of clamping. So the AR Stoner, I believe it was a little under $100 for that mount, where you're talking about some of those mounts are $300. Alright, now I have those loosened up. I'm just going to wiggle this a little bit. Now it's starting to come loose. There we go. And keep going. And there goes the forearm. And that is the Samson Evolution. And I'm going to show you down the length. Of course, this is the back side. I want you to look at how open that is and how thin that is. They have, on this setup, it is so much is machined out, and it's just made almost perfection. I mean, it's as thin as it can be, but it's very, very rigid and strong. Does a very good job of cooling. It's got all kinds of options for mounting. Like the rail section that I've got here, this is a Samson supplied rail section. It is aluminum. You can see it's been skeletonized down the middle to save weight. But this doesn't just have to be mounted on the sides. It can be mounted here on these ports. You can, I don't know if you see the different, all your different sides there. It's like, it's not an octagon. I don't even know how many sides it's got. But you could mount this, say, here, here, here. You've got multiple options. You can just hit it every few degrees around. It gives you a lot of options and availability. Now what we're going to do on this one is we are actually going to mount this right underneath that piece of tape. And so I'm going to scoot this tape up some. This tape is the F4 tape that I talked about in some of my other videos. It does not have adhesive. It only adheres to itself. And so for things like this, it's just phenomenal. And I'm using tape right here because I'm not 100% sure exactly that this is where I want everything set at. So by going with this F4 tape, I can run it a little while. It's good and sturdy, and it'll let me vet the mounting options. You know, let me make sure that it is what I want. And like I was saying, we're going to run this in like that. I'm actually going to use this to scoot my tape up a little bit. And go something like that. So my burden now lies with getting the back hardware down inside of here to the proper place. I'm gonna pause this video, or it'll come back for another segment once I've got this chucked up where I've got it held real well. But before I do, I want to show you guys a little bit about this 3G here. You'll see here on the you can see the fluted barrel. It is an H-bar stainless steel barrel, and this is a Samson gas block, low profile, LPGB, low profile gas block, and I can't say enough about the barrel. I mean, it's great. I've had a couple of bull barrels on some 60-inch bull barrels on a few different ARs, and they were heavy. This thing's only barely heavier than those. And this is the proprietary Stag compensator. The jury's still out on this. I'm gonna do some videos on some compensator muzzle brake comparisons at some point in time. 21st Century Gunfighter, you can see their webpage or their YouTube channel on my site. They did a very extensive muzzle device comparison. It's like a 4 or 5 part series using full auto fire. Very, very good testing. What the testing I'm going to do is going to be specific to my needs on this firearm. And so anyways, I'll still go ahead and do that, but I'll be right back. Alright, here we go. Got this little vise articulated up to hold this. And I'm going to use some long needle nose pliers. And the way that this is going to go in, if you see this piece of hardware here, look at, see the side of it there, and you see that side. The side right here with the protrusion, that is going to go from the inside. It's going to go out. You want that ring to actually fit inside and down in, help lock into whatever hole you're in. So I'm going to be mounting this on the bottom here, and so I'm going to take that, and it is actually going to go down. Now what I've done, the rest of your hardware that's going to be supplied, you're going to have this bolt, and it's got a little dab of blue Loctite that's already supplied on it, and you're going to have a washer. The washer is going to go on the side of your bolt that contacts the polymer. You want to give it as much help as possible with that polymer. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and run this down through there and have that just staged here and waiting for me. And I'm going to go ahead and on here, before I run into an issue, I'm going to turn the barrel just to get it out of my way. Alright, and where I'm putting this, I've got to have every last bit of reach from these pliers. What you want to do you want to make sure that this sticks down just a little bit below the level of the pliers so that you can get it down inside of here. And I've had to stick it out as far as possible. Now, with a lot of your hand guards and stuff, this isn't possible because they don't have as much room inside of them. You end up with a lot of issues trying to get this done. I'm going to push that tape down a little bit and go ahead and get everything started. And my plate is at an angle down here. Let's see here. Well, I dropped it. There we go. Get the angle right down there. And again, you just gotta be patient with this stuff. You'll get it. Now what you want is the way that oval was, you want it to be as close to lined up as possible. The idea behind it is going to get in there, and you will end up twisting it some, and it will get against the side and eventually get into a locked up state. But you want to try and control where that thing gets in there and locks up. And you can go forward and backwards to keep from binding it too much in there. We have come loose from the hardware. Alright. Now, what I want to show you down in here, let you all see what I'm working with down in there. See if maybe I can get some light. There we go. You see how it's sideways in there? Now it's turned straight. Ideally, you'll have it straight in there. But as you go and as you tighten it, it's going to want to spin itself. And so that's just something that you got to deal with. And that's what I'm trying to do in there, is hold it with the pliers to keep it from spinning so it will seat down in there properly. So tighten it back down there, run our pliers in. Alright, and we have success. So that's that, and now we'll throw it back on and get everything jigged up, and we'll do that. While I had him here, I wanted to just show you, of course we know this is the Stag G3 that I've got here, 18-inch H-bar heavy fluted barrel, low profile gas block, compensator. This is actually an A1 style barrel and upper and everything, and if you notice, the A1 has the triangular shape to the handguard. This was basically like the original M16. This is your carry handle and your sights built in. This is, you know, like I say, the A1 style, the original. You got your gas block and your front sight is all one and the same. That's something you see a lot anyways. You notice the profile on this barrel, how it's pretty thin through here and then it gets thicker here on the end. Both of these are rifle length gas systems. Most of your ARs that are out there run a mid-length or a carbine length, and they're a good bit shorter. That way your gas block is down here, and running the rifle length, it gives you a lot softer shooting, less recoil. It's a lot more pleasant to shoot. Longer barrel gives you a little bit more accuracy. But either way, I just wanted to show you that. This is a free float setup here, and with this Samson handguard on here, the only thing that this handguard touches is right here. It clamps right here. It doesn't touch anything else. It doesn't touch the gas block, nothing. Whereas on one that's not a free float, like all of your Magpul Mo forearms, everything like that, you have a clip here. This spring clip, it clamps in the base, and it notches in here first. You got your two pieces, and so it touches up here also. You got a couple things there. First and foremost, the handguard can rotate a little bit. It's loose. It does not stay 100% true and stay indexed properly on your barrel and upper. So if you wanted to mount, regardless of if you can or not, if you mount laser, or especially laser, because with laser you want it to be a fairly precise point where it goes out to. So if you mount a laser on something that moves in relation to your barrel and your point of aim, that doesn't do you any good. You can't mount optics up top, anything like that. Whereas with a free float setup, it is solid right back here. It's not going to go anywhere. It does not move, and it almost seems counterintuitive that it's hooked in one place, yet it's stronger and more stable. The next thing, and the big thing, is that it helps accuracy, because if you've ever seen a gun fire in slow motion, you know that the barrel and everything has harmonics. As that bullet goes out, you'll see the ripple, you'll see that barrel wave. Well, if you only have it touched and clamped in one place right here, there's nothing out here to disturb that. Anything that touches that barrel, especially the farther out you get, it can alter the flight of that bullet. With moving things back here, different forces on it, you can just have bad harmonics, and it will affect the accuracy. Running one of these, a lot of people I've seen that they're used to seeing the short handguard and then all that barrel sticking out. I had a customer just talk to me about that. He said, he doesn't want all that handguard. What I try to explain to him, there's a reason why this is done now. Running that short handguard gives you a lot of barrel out there that, whenever you come up against, like a support or a target or something, and you put that gun or that barrel up to stabilize yourself, if you put the barrel onto something, you are going to affect the accuracy and the trajectory of that round. You run one of these long handguards, a free float, where it covers up your gas block and it goes out as far as possible. You put your handguard against it. Keeps you from burning things, people, yourself, and it helps the accuracy. There's a rhyme or reason for all this stuff, and just like in automobile racing, you look to the guys that are doing the speed shit, the high speed stuff, and I mean that in two ways. That are doing the good stuff, but the fast stuff. The race guys, competition. That is a good place. That and combat, the two C's. That's where you learn how to make a good product, how to critique your product, and what works and what doesn't. So anyways, I digress. Alright, here we go. We're going to put the Samson rail back on. Make sure everything's still loosened up, lined up, and all that. And in case y'all hadn't seen one of these, this right here is just a top rail cover. It's actually a Magpul unit as well. It's just a piece of polymer, and it just clips on. It's shaped where it will clip on, and you can cut these in individual sections however you want. So if you have something, say that I had an optic there, a magnifier or something that I mounted over here. Well, you can use these T numbers here and remember that way. Or you can just take one of these things and butt it up after you get your optic mounted. You butt that right up to the closest one to it, and you've got a reference mark. So if you're on the fly and you need to throw your your night vision on or something like that, you've got a very positive way of guiding you into that rail, especially dark or whatever. It's only going to fit where it has an open rail space, and you can cover up the rest of that. What I'm using it for is just keep the cheese grater effect down. And I've got my pressure switch here, but with the rope grip, hand coming over the top, it's just a lot more pleasant and more comfortable to grab that way, like that. All right, I'm gonna just run this straight down. Very straightforward and simple. Just bring it straight over everything. You want to take some precaution not to just gouge everything, but this piece here, there's two pieces. They clamshell. They hook around your barrel nut. You can see they're fairly loose there. Both of those, you'll just have to play with the indexing of it until you get it where it'll flip on, slip on, and you just work it back and forth, and it will go on. You should not have to use any force. You shouldn't have to pound on it, anything like that. What I am going to do is take the wooden part of this hammer. Now that I've got it on there, I'm going to go right up here to the top where my rail is, where the thickest part is, and I'm just going to put, I've got this handle on the barrel, and I'm just going to tap it a little bit just to make sure that we're seated well. I'm not relying on the hammer to put it on, and just seating it. And just like I say, very straightforward and simple. I'm just going to barely get that first one to touch. And the way that I like to do these, you've got your two bolts here. I like to actually start putting torque on the back, on the rear one first, because I don't want to take any chance of getting the toothpaste tube effect, where I tighten the forward one first and it wants to kind of squeeze this forearm off of its resting place there. Chances of that happening are really thin, but hey, stranger things have happened. You notice how I'm holding this Allen key. I don't have much leverage. I'm just turning it hand tight. I just want to snug it all. I preach that all the time. Go back and forth now that I've got it where it's touching real good. Go in here. And I'm just going to alternate back and forth. I'm not a big fan of really tightening up one screw or bolt in a system and then going to the rest of them. I like to try and put even torque and steps on everything, even when it doesn't call for it. That could be a holdover from my days working on engines, but I'll stick with the theory and principle and practice. On a side note, I just want to say I feel sorry that our country has come to the point to where those that don't have they have realized that all they have to do to have is to vote for the party and the guy that promises them the most. It's absurd. Yeah, like I say, absolutely absurd. But in the end, the fact of the matter is that I don't agree with a lot of people, you know, and then it's their own opinion if they want to. People say, that's not my president. You know, yeah, it is. You're an American citizen, and you participate in the voting process, and if the guy that you wanted to win didn't win, well, the other guy is still your president. He is still the president of the United States. And I believe that the office deserves respect. And that's something that the Democrats and Obama, they did not do for George Bush. They should have given him common courtesy and respect of the office. It's just, there's more to it than just the individual. To be quite honest, I voted for Gary Johnson, the Libertarian candidate. I'm here in Tennessee, and I was able to, in good conscience, feel like, you know, Tennessee always goes to the Republican. So I was not worried about my vote for Gary Johnson causing Romney not to take Tennessee. And it's a winner takes all on the electoral votes. So I voted for Gary Johnson. Now, I'm not a Libertarian, and I don't agree with everything that, you know, that he thinks, but I wanted to try and get the Libertarian Party, you know, 5-6% of the popular vote. I want another viable party, another option, and I wanted to try and contribute to getting the Libertarian Party some funding for the next election, so we can maybe break this gridlock that we have in Washington. But I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get going on that. It's just on my mind. All right, we've got our handguard back on, everything mounted up, and we're going to pull our pins, and what we'll do here is we'll run our latch, our charging handle right back in, take our bolt, put it in, there we go. I'll be right back once I get my lower and everything set back up here. And for any of you guys that are new to the whole AR idea, you know, one of the beautiful things about it is that here, this is the other upper that I was showing you. I didn't put a bolt or anything in it, but they're completely modular. I run these in there, run a bolt in there, and this is now, in essence, an A1 with a good trigger job. It's basically what that boils down to. You can do so much stuff with it. I mean, just the sky's the limit. And in my opinion, the best firearm available is anything in your AR platform. Run it down there, get our pins in, and out. Let me get this swinging thing wrapped up here. We'll just tuck this right in the end of our handguard for now. And so now, the way that I've got this set up, let me get out the light there, is I can run this, got a good grip on it. I'm sorry about that light. Alright, there we go. I can pull back nice and firm. Of course, you've always got, you know, your regular old handle grip there, but for tactically using it and in like a 3-gun type sense, it will allow me to get my hand out, get the good rope grip on it, and I can pull back and have a very stable shooting platform. I'm using that to pull back with that arm is tight. That's what really gets you where you're stable. Pulling back into your pocket does more for stability than any of your trying to control it and keep it from moving. So, like I was saying, what I will probably end up doing is you see how I'm holding it here? I'll probably end up coming down here and from about right here, start cutting and then just bring it up. And it'll be at an angle and it'll just end up being a little stub there. So that's what I'm thinking I'll do. We'll see. But I won't be doing anything until I've tested it a good bit and made sure that it's what I want. Thanks for watching. I wanted to add this in here. I didn't put my Laser Genetics, the ND3P, back on. So this can showcase how the versatility of this gun vise. I slid this in and I'm able to move this in there. A lot of your guns, this will clamp your butt stock. On the ARs, I like to clamp the handguard. But after I run that in, I can run this in. I can pick the whole thing up by the gun if I wanted to. It's got holes here to where you can mount it, run a screw down through something, which I do from time to time. But what we'll do here on the ND3, I'll zoom in here, and I say here a lot. Tell you what, any of you guys that are watching this, write me and tell me the words and the phrases and things that I say too much. And I'll try and not do that. I think that'll be funny. That might be what I do for the video responses for my giveaway that I'm going to do pretty soon. So anyways, the way this is set up, you've got your clamp there. And I like to run it as far back on this rail as I can to keep the weight, any weight, farther towards the base and the back. It just, anytime that you can keep weight off at the end, you're better off. It's going to point and maneuver faster and easier. There we go. Now I like to take cord and I'll wrap it through, and then I usually run it back under itself and into its hole. Now we will, in the great words of James Yeager, we'll go ahead and do a danger check. Make sure that everything's ready to go. Of course, now we're on safe, so this gun is now ready to go. Unloaded gun does not do you any good, but if you're going to have your gun haven't loaded, if you're going to have a gun period, be responsible with it. And that's the Stag Arms 3G. And mounting a vertical foregrip on it. Thanks for watching, guys.